Albert Granda here, and I'm honored to have Pete Lachapelle sitting in a snowy sunroom in Connecticut with snow outside, and Glen Cybulski, who's in California. Here I am in Hawaii. And we're going to talk about an organization, a nonprofit called Chefs Feeding Kids. So, Glenn, tell me about how it started, how you got involved with Chefs Feeding Kids.
Yeah, really 2009, a bunch of us went to Italy to compete. Tony Gemignani, Billy Manzo, and a bunch of other guys. And we just started talking about life. And while my parents were divorced, and while I never remember being hungry. I sure do remember a lot of nights when we had scrambled eggs or pancakes for dinner because back then, I didn't know this, but that's all mom had,
Sure,
right? So
sure.
we were certainly on that edge of food insecurity. Billy had that same kind of experience. And I think most, I don't know, a lot of people do
A
have that
lot
kind
of
of
us,
experience.
a lot of us did. Yeah.
Yeah,
We had rice and beans Saturday nights. I mean, that was it,
there you go.
you know?
Yeah.
So,
So then we started talking about, well, we should do something. And, Billy came up with Chefs Feeding Kids. I absolutely love the logo and everything he started. We collaborated on it with Joe Carlucci and Leo Spizziri. Um, and so, that's how it started.
okay.
That's really how it started. Billy ran it back in Providence for about 10 years. And in 2021, he called me and said, "Hey, Glenn, do you want to take over running Chefs Feeding Kids?" And I said, "I would love to." He goes, "What do you want to do?" And I said, "I'm going to expand it. I think we have a lot of opportunities. Of course, a lot transpires over 10 years. We meet a lot of chefs.
Sure, sure,
Um,
sure.
and so that's basically, we're now here in California. We are domiciled here as the company. I really started doing the legwork in 2022,
Yep.
talking to a lot of the guys at Pizza Expo and California Milk Advisory Board. I had to bring a whole new board in. One of the first guys I talked to at Pizza Expo, and that's Pete. I'll be the executive director of Chefs Feeding Kids, and this is what I'd like to do. We'd like to, expand it
Yep.
across the U.S., get more chefs involved from all lines of cooking, all genres, because we want to help kids in our
Fan-
community, food insecure kids in our community, and
Fantastic.
help them get good food.
Let me put Pete there. Pete, what's the mission of Chefs Feeding Kids?
The mission, we focus on four words, which would be feed, educate, train, and employ. There's no doubt that we have food insecurity across the country. I mean, and we know that, what is it, one out of every five children goes to bed hungry at night. And whatever you can do to alleviate that is laudable. I look at it from the perspective, having been in the food service business now for 30, 40 years, the most common problem that we've had over those that period of time has been lack of employees, lack of labor. And I go all the way back to the baking industry where, remember the Dunkin' Donuts commercial? Time to make the donuts, the poor
Yeah.
guy
Oh,
got
yeah.
up at 4 o'clock in the morning. That's the
Yeah,
story
dude.
of the baking industry.
Yeah.
So what I look at it is we need to inspire the food service industry needs to inspire the next generation of professionals. And I really think that that can start with Chefs Feeding Kids. We've already started our classes. We had, in fact, in our first class, we didn't, well, I say we, Glenn was there, I wasn't, but how cool was it? A young man shows up in a chef jacket and a hat, and he is ready to go.
Right.
And Glenn
Yeah.
says, "Well, how did you hear about this?" He says, I think his sister told him about it and drove him to the class. And here, you get in there because he wants to be a chef. And everybody can't afford to go to culinary schools and not everybody's school has a training program or a trade school associated with it. So
Sure.
in any case, I looked at this project as one that, holy cow, yes, we can alleviate childhood hunger, and I think that's wonderful, and it's going to take more than just the bunch of us. But I really think that we can inspire the next generation of food service
Very,
professionals.
very commendable. Let's break
Yeah.
it down. Let's break it down a bit if I could, and I'll tick that to either one of you. Feed, educate, train, and employ. That's your mission, which is
Yeah.
very commendable. So let's
That
look
is,
at what
yep.
is the feed part? How are we feeding people?
So we're gonna feed people through our network of chefs, and that starts with the World Pizza Champions, U.S. Pizza Team, but really any chef in any restaurant concept. It could be
Okay.
tacos, it could be burgers, it could be
Yeah.
anything. Getting out to those chefs and spreading the word. All they have to do is sign up, and they want to do something in their community. So that feeding is where when we talk about all the different areas in the culinary world, there's a ton of them. We can get to more kids in more cities that we may never ourselves go to, but that is that part of the mission. We inspire them. So, for instance, Joe Carlucci will be having a class. I think we've got 6 classes scheduled so far this year. Joe Carlucci is going to have one in Huntsville, Alabama, where his restaurant is,
Okay.
and he's going to be able to teach some kids there how
Okay.
to make
So,
pizzas.
and so we're feeding, and then we're getting to the next part, which is
Right.
educating. So, what's
Yep.
the educate part of chefs feeding kids?
So that's part and parcel to the culinary classes that we're holding for these kids. We're educating them on healthy food in the classes. We're educating them on eating at home and making healthy food at home. That's part of the education so that they can get a good foundation of nutrition and how to prepare foods.
Right. Okay. And another part, which I think is wonderful because you like playing it forward, which is train. And you're training kids in culinary skills, which is unbelievable. I think that's fantastic. And how does that piece fit in?
That piece fits in with every single class that's held, no matter where a chef is in the U.S. Because again, the next class that we're coming up that's going to be taught is making fresh pasta at home. So we have our smallwares like we do in any restaurant, and we introduce those very easily to the kids so that they can use them. And it's like building a little model or something. They get excited about using tools that can help them create the food. So that education starts in the classroom, and of course, it will expand in later classes as
Absolutely.
they grow. Yeah.
No, I think that is so important. The training part is invaluable. And you get obviously you get culinary skills, but also life skills.
Right.
And
Well,
through the life skills, we're talking employment. So not only we're doing feed, educate, train, and employ, which is unbelievable. So Pete, talk about the employment part.
well, like we said, as the classes develop and over the period of time, the classes will become more and more sophisticated. The next one is how to make fresh pasta. Glen's going to be doing that. We've already had a pizza class. Joe will have either a pasta or a pizza class. But as the classes progress, the same students may want to come back and say, okay, this time we're going to teach you another skill. It could be, I even see the classes going as far as what's necessary in a restaurant, whether it's serving tables, bussing tables, whether it's prepping food, whatever goes on in the make line or in the kitchen. What I would love to see in the future is that these kids, as the classes progress, maybe they get a diploma of some sort.
Sure.
They can say, hey, they can go to the local restaurant because now they have taken their classes. They've shown an interest in the food service business. They can walk to a restaurant or in some sort of food service operator and say, hey, I've taken classes in this, and this. I'd really like a job.
Absolutely. No.
I
No, no,
don't think
that's
there's a restaurateur in the world that would sit back and say, they'd give the
yeah.
kid a big hug and say, come on in.
And for two experts who have been in the food industry for a long time, let's face it, getting people in there may be the most difficult task for any restaurant
Absolutely.
owner. We're not just talking pizza, but across the board. And restaurants make the world go round. I mean, everyone loves to eat out. Everyone loves food.
There's
Uh,
just not enough help to go around. I mean, the typical story is, yeah, I hired a stick man and he was working my oven and oh God, he was doing a great job. And 10 months later, some guy on the other side of town came over and hired him for $4 more an hour. We don't have enough to go around.
yeah.
What I think cool is as a chef, you can go anywhere in the world, knock on a door of some restaurant and say, "Hey, I'm in town and I want to work."
And I think, as you mentioned, you don't have to go to culinary school. I mean, you can do a
No,
lot of
and that's
on-the-job
our
training.
goal. Let's
And ha
let's. It doesn't have to be exclusively a CIA grad or a Johnson and Wales grad. Sure, they're wonderful and we'd love to see them, but not everybody has that opportunity.
Albert, the reality is that in our industry, like you just said, people come in. It's kind of a transition industry. Well, we want to make this for kids, young adults. We want to make this a priority to get them the skill sets. At the kids, if you look on our website, the classes, they get a little certificate of participation saying what they did. That makes them feel really good. It energizes them. JB, the young man that came in the first class, he walked like Pete said, he walked in with his chef jacket on and a hat. He made a great pizza. We referred him to a couple different pizzerias. He got a job. So that
Oh,
skill
wow.
set, we also want to make sure, like Pete said, I want to emphasize that training and that education part. They really will be able to walk into a restaurant and say, I have been trained on being a fry cook. I have been trained on being an oven
Sure.
master. Those skill sets automatically, for me as a restaurateur and a chef, that's exactly what I want to hear.
Sure.
And then you hone from there,
Yeah, and I want to point out, I think the most important part, although you're getting specific culinary skills, they're life skills. You carry these
Yes,
skills with you the rest of your life.
absolutely.
Dedication, follow through, being dependable. Those are all things that any employer is looking for, which is
Yep.
incredible. Now, I want to point out something too. Chefs Feeding Kids is a nonprofit. Uh, can you just address that for a second? You guys are a
Sure.
nonprofit organization relying on donations to fulfill your mission. So,
Absolutely.
can you talk a little bit
Yeah.
about that?
Sure. And it's a little, a nonprofit's a company. Obviously, it's a corporation that is able to raise donations and get tax benefits to the donors, um, and they're very transparent. So our Chefs Feeding Kids very transparent to be able to see where the money goes and how it's used, and that's very important in a nonprofit because when you're donating money to something, you want to make sure that the majority of that money, after expenses and things like that, is going to that goal of getting in touch with more kids
Sure,
and expanding the mission. So that's
sure.
what a nonprofit's all about. We do have a plan for a culinary center here in Northern California that will actually have a Delco unit and actually make food for sale.
Okay,
So we're going to take these kids all the way through
okay.
to be able to get them as
What is a
educated as
Delco? What is
possible.
a Delco unit? I'm not
A
sure what that is.
Delco unit's going to be a takeout and delivery. So we're
Okay,
not going to have a restaurant, but
right.
again, the skill sets that we want to teach and the nonprofit supplying that level of a culinary center is something that hasn't been done, and this is where kids that just can't afford to go to even a junior college
Sure.
culinary center.
Absolutely. No,
So that's what
no.
that with that home base and that foundation, we're going to be able to continue to spread the word, spread the mission, and explain to people what we do, and maybe that will
Okay. I
inspire
mean,
them to donate.
The goal is to have that culinary center spin off enough money that we can expand the classes around the country.
Right.
And that's it. I mean, right now, we're looking at probably a half dozen classes scheduled in 25. What
okay.
would be cool is if we could work our way up to a dozen.
Sure.
And next year we get 24. Next year we get 48. And pretty soon we start having honest to God classes all around the country. And it's
Sure.
and anybody can put on a class. Any chef can put on a class.
Okay.
Restaurant.
Well, that's
And
great, which begs the question, because how can people get involved in chefs feeding kids?
good,
Well,
Glenn.
the best way to get involved, first of all, is to go to the website. Our website is all the W's, chefsfeedingkids.org. And you can look actually on a map where our active chefs are. You could pinpoint on that
Okay.
map where chefs are. And obviously, donating is a big part of helping us to expand our mission and get to more kids and help more kids. So
Okay.
the donations is a big part of our mission to get out and feed,
Okay.
educate, train, and
Yeah.
employ.
Fantastic. Guys, thank you so much. I'm going to put all links below this video,
Beautiful.
and I put it out there for people to contact you and find out more about Chefs Feeding Kids. And the cool thing is, anyone can get involved. So
Anyone can get involved. Yeah, we want everybody to take a look at it and get inspired. And that helps. That really
Okay.
helps you get
All
It
right.
excited about
helps your own neighborhood. It helps
Yeah.
the community.
Yep.
It does. Yeah.
Albert, thanks you very much.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Pete. Thank you, Glenn.
Albert, thank you very much. Appreciate all your help. Talk to you
Okay.
soon.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, man.
Okay.